This is Mission Funded. Today we have Sarah Ernest. Sarah is the founder of Ernest for Good, a boutique firm that helps nonprofit leaders step into their power with strategy, campaign fundraising plans, sounding board session support calls, coaching, and more. She's a seasoned philanthropy and communications professional. Sarah has raised over $30 million for causes across North America, and she's a best-selling author with her book, Rethink Philanthropy. We are so excited to welcome Sarah to the show today to talk about everything from fundraising to branding and storytelling for nonprofits. Sarah, welcome to Mission Funded. I'm Steph, your host, and we have our marketing manager, Nikki Ramito, here as our co-host.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Steph. Hi, Nikki.
Hi, Sarah. So good that you're here. So happy.
So for anyone, Sarah, who doesn't know you, can you tell us a little bit about Ernest for Good and what led you into fundraising and philanthropy?
Oh my goodness. Yes, yes, yes. It is a long story. We can talk about it for quite some time, but long story, quite short version would be about 23 years ago, I want to say now. I got my foot in the door in fundraising and essentially figured out what fundraising was through a practicum placement at my university, Mount St. Vincent University in Nova Scotia. So I'm an East Coaster. I'm actually from the Maritimes.
Amazing.
Shout out to the Maritimes. Yay! And so through my practicum placement, I got my foot in the door as a grant writer. And my background was English and family studies, gerontology, and English. And my intention was initially to be a teacher. I did my practicum. I realized that I can tell stories and write and communicate impact and need, and that people would give us money to then fulfill this need. And essentially, my stories is the way I was looking at it. My stories would then lead to opportunities for people, the creation of new programs, new projects. And I was hooked. I didn't even know in university and as a young person that, philanthropy was a thing. Um, Even though I benefited from, philanthropy as a young person, as a family who fled violence, access shelters, we really pulled on and relied on the support of the charitable sector, to get my family through a difficult time. So although I was in it, I didn't know I was in it or how it worked. And then, I got my foot in the door, grant writing, fell in love, and then went from essentially intern to coordinator to manager to director to vice president and then chief philanthropy officer. And I've done this work across North America, East Coast to Ontario, to the United States, kind of all over. And I kind of make the joke of that I'm like a BOGO, like a buy one, get one free. Because although I'm really very much known for my work in philanthropy, it's always centered philanthropy and then brand and the intersection of brand communications, marketing and philanthropy. And that's where that, the big impact, the bold campaigns, the memorable moments really come from. So I've led both of those departments, raised more than $30 million for charities since I started, and then founded Ernest for Good. And we at Ernest for Good, our mission is to energize fundraising, brighten brands, and we do it unapologetically. So it's
Beautiful.
now, 2 years in business, but over 20 years in the sector.
That's amazing. I think that that's such like a niche little market that you kind of hit because I don't really see when I found you, I didn't really see a lot of other people that are doing what you do. Can you
Yeah.
tell us a bit more about what Earnest for Good does for nonprofits?
Yeah, absolutely. So, my thought when I created this business, we are a boutique philanthropy and communications consulting firm. My message always is I am your friend, your strategist, and your biggest cheerleader. I have
Mhm.
worked with consultants, and I do this like, consultants my whole career. I've worked with folks. It's always my experience has been a bit of like a top down hierarchical, like we're going to come in, scan the lay of the land, but then give you the solution. And now we're going to leave and you need to figure it out. And so I thought back to my experiences in my fundraising career and like what could I have used to be a better fundraiser and to be a better leader. Um, and so for me, it came down to coaching, mentorship, strategy development. So all the things a typical consultant does, I come in, I do a bit of an organizational audit on your philanthropy, your donor journey, your stewardships, your campaigns, your messaging, all of the things that make, a fundraising organization work. And then I'll give you, depending on the scope of work, but we might be creating a new campaign together. I might be working with you to strengthen your fundraising infrastructure, to build your first ever recognition and stewardship matrix and framework.
Mhm.
But not only then do I work and develop annual campaign plans, capital campaign plans, but then I'll stay with you to animate it and actually execute it in your organization, and we'll work with you along the way and hold your hand and be your friend and be your cheerleader to get through it. Because that was the biggest part for me in my learning was, okay, here's the plan. And then folks are usually gone.
Yeah.
And then you're kind of left with like, well, but we didn't have the capacity or support or the expertise to actually deliver on this. So yeah, so Ernest for Good, it's everything from campaign concept, strategy development, coaching. I work with a lot of boards, and I have a workshop called Fundraising Ain't Scary. And and it's really about effective board fundraising, because that's something I've found over the years. When you can unlock the potential of your board and the power of your board from an ROI
Yeah.
perspective, like that makes a huge difference.
Very huge. And that's I love how you're talking about being their cheerleader, being there for support. That's just it's so important, when especially when you send out 100 letters and you hear back from half or less than half, and you need that somebody to be like, it's okay, we've done this. Like
This is
we
normal.
got
Yeah.
this. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. No. And you know what? I've actually heard you talk about outdated rules fundraisers are kind of expected to follow. Can you give
Yes.
us some examples and suggestions of that?
Oh my goodness, there's so many. There's so many. So I wrote a book. It's titled Rethink Philanthropy: Breaking Rules, Raising Funds, and Doing Good. And my whole thought was, I have been extremely successful in this craft for the time I've been doing this work. And I'm
Hmm.
like, well, why? And then I think of, I have broken every like quote unquote rule in fundraising. And I make the joke always, like, not the CRA. Okay. I'm not talking about like breaking CRA rules. Don't do anything that's going to get you in trouble. But some of those rules, what they look like, I like to share is, there's a chapter in my book called Wear the Colorful Socks. And for example, when I started my fundraising career, I read this article um, while I was sitting in like a little spring dress with kitten heels and bright lipstick on, and feeling myself on this summer day. And I read this article, and it was basically like, don't wear colorful socks. That's what it was telling fundraisers, because the donors should wear the colorful socks. They should stand out, they should be interesting.
Mm,
So essentially, it was encouraging folks to, conform to this mediocrity and just to be neutral and not take on any attention to yourself. And I was just thinking, number one, what I was wearing in that moment, I'm like, oh my God, am I in the right industry?
yeah.
This could be really bad. I love colorful socks.
Yeah.
I want to wear them. And then my tip to folks is like, imagine what can happen if it's such a simple thing, but if you wore your colorful socks and if they wore their colorful socks, and then imagine the connection that you would make in that moment with
Yeah.
that human being. So to humanize it. So I say, in terms of rule breaking, um, show up as your whole self.
Yeah.
Donors want transparency, authenticity, vulnerability. They want real people. Vulnerability attracts. We're
Yeah.
told in this sector, almost be like robotic, like you
Yeah.
are a conduit to a mission, or like you
Hmm.
are a transaction, a flow through moment for money. Um, People give to people, not causes. I
Yeah.
say that all the time, right?
Yeah.
It's relational. Fundraising is relational. Tell the truth is a big one. A lot of folks, in terms of like outdated arbitrary rules, oftentimes the way we approach and engage with donors is it's all sunshine and rainbows. We're only talking about the good news stories. And my suggestion is give them the inside scoop. Like
Yeah.
give them the reality. If everything is sunshine and rainbows, why would they
Mhm.
support you? Like you're good, right? You're fine. So there's a way to do that, but I'm a big fan of like real talk, show up as human, be vulnerable, be transparent. Um, Another one in terms of rule breaking is saying no.
Hmm.
So I talk about this a lot, but a lot of us oftentimes, and this kind of comes into the scarcity mindset piece, which I'm sure we'll get to. But saying no and offering an opportunity to redirect and educate and re-educate donors is so important. And a lot of times people feel like they can't say no, right? And so if someone's like, "Hey, Sarah, I want to give you $100,000, but I want the money to support this particular program and I want you to do this with it." Well, you know what, John, actually, that's not the needs of our clients in this moment in time. What they've identified for us is they're actually requiring support over here. Like thank, redirect.
Hmm.
Because oftentimes we get caught up in this like donor centered approach, but it's very backwards. Like I'm a fan of trust-based philanthropy. So you are you are a representative of the needs of those you support in community. So
Hmm.
that what they need should be informing. It's so obvious, but sometimes we get lost in what the donor wants versus what the realities are. Um, Other rules: stop making fundraising transactional. Interactions over transactions. That's a big one. Donors are not ATM machines,
Hmm.
right? Don't wait until you need money to contact them and say hello all of a sudden. That gives the ick quite a bad.
Yeah.
And one thing too, I can go on forever. I have so many like rule breaking moments. One thing too is, if you guys have been in this space, you might know like ownership of relationships. So
Hmm.
oftentimes we default to the CEO or the ED.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh, well, they're so and so, so they need to connect with the ED or the CEO. For me, fundraising and the success of that is really understanding who is that potential donor, that prospective donor, that funder. What is their vibe? Like, it's art and science, right? It's what is their energy? Who would they relate to with best on the team, or where do they already have connection? Um, and then having that individual serve as the relationship manager to guide and, bring that person in versus just because they're a certain person, default them to the CEO. Like you can get so many mismatches that way. And again, it kind of seems icky.
Yeah.
Relationship driven, just bring everything back to relationships at the end of the day. There's so
Yeah.
many rules. Go get my book and then
Yeah.
you'll get to read them, how we
Perfect.
break them all.
We will definitely link that. No, I really, as a company, Grant Advance, basically you have said exactly the kinds of things that we are encouraging our clients to do as well, which is like especially like the colorful socks. Like, we're real people, and as
Yeah.
soon as they feel like it's AI generated or, not truly them, or they're just getting a standard letter like the same as always. No, we want to make sure that our the funders and the nonprofits are aligned, and
Yeah.
that's what's going to build that relationship. These are all
Yes.
everything that you said is relationship building, which we
Yeah.
really encourage because that builds year after year giving. And it's like you wear colorful socks, I wear colorful socks. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
And I really really resonate with what you just said. I really think that that's amazing. Thank you for
Yeah,
sharing that.
of course. Yeah, it's so important. Like at the end of the day, we're human beings, right? We're
Hmm.
we're here, we're whole people. We have whole lives. we're not just showing up as a fundraiser to do XYZ. You know,
Yep.
we're signing off and taking care of our baby and our puppy and we're going to classes. Like we have whole meaningful lives. And when you can connect in with people on multiple levels and have that, you know, intersectionality in the relationship, that's where it like amazing things can happen. That's where the magic really happens.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, I love that.
I love it too, especially like in a world that's kind of focused on like AI, having that human side and like you obviously that's like the center of your branding, right? And your brand also uses the word I noticed unapologetic like all the time, right? So can you kind of like explain what unapologetic fundraising means?
Oh, yes. Yes, 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 I can. So unapologetic fundraising, it means that knowing your mission, your impact, it has value,
Mhm.
big value, and you're stepping into your power as a nonprofit leader, which we'll come back to the word nonprofit because that also gets grinds my gears. But you're stepping into that space with confidence. So unapologetic fundraising, it means that you're not shrinking your impact, right? You're not
Mhm.
apologizing for fundraising. You're not discounting your worth. You're not accepting the crumbs. There's moments, like I said before, when you have the opportunity to educate and redirect funders and donors. You know, and let's say, for example, you're partially funded for a project.
Mhm.
What do most charities do? They say, okay, thank you, and they take 25% of what the ask was, and then they deliver on 100% of what they initially proposed, right? And that tells a funder and donor that you can do this job for 25%. Why are they going to fund you fully? Um, right? And so you're accepting the crumbs, you're not redirecting, you're not educating. You have an opportunity in that example to educate on the fact that we're a living wage employer,
Mhm.
paying people, you know, in a way that is equitable and fair. And not to mention that the majority of folks who work in the nonprofit sector are women. They
Yep.
are, you know, they're often marginalized folks. They're newcomers. They're immigrants. So when we chronically underpay, we chronically undervalue, and that really is reflective in the fact it's care work.
Mhm.
But
Yep.
that's it. That's an opportunity unapologetically redirect, re-educate, inform on why you need the funds. Um, don't make donors feel guilty. That's another part. I always talk about, you know, in the context of like being unapologetic, bringing with or without you energy, I call it. So
Mhm.
how many times in fundraising do you hear, you know, we can't do this without you?
Yep.
You know, because of you, XYZ, and we can't do it without you. We need you now more than ever.
Mhm.
Da da da, all these boom boom taglines. They're great. They work, but they also add this level of like
Dependence.
pressure
Yeah.
onto donors where like we have enough in this, you know, we're we're working a lot, things are expensive. You don't need a donor to think that you guys aren't going to be able to do it unless they donate. It's
Mhm.
with or without you energy is we are doing this. This is a need. It is important. We're all in. Join us.
Get
That
on board.
yeah, that shifts it to like a FOMO, right? If fear of missing out, then they're like, wow, that
Yeah.
charity is doing big things. I want to be part of that. Not, oh
Mhm.
God, I better give
To
them
help them.
$500 or they're going bankrupt.
Yeah, it kind of like shifts like, how you value the work that these organizations
Yeah.
do. And you just mentioned how you don't like the word nonprofit, and I've heard you
Yes.
say the term social profit instead of nonprofit. So
Yes.
kind of like describe what that means. Social profit
Well,
versus
yes.
nonprofit. Yeah.
Okay. So with nonprofits, if you actually Google the word nonprofit, it's going to refer to things like worthless, like the synonyms of nonprofit is worthless, um, uh, lacking value. It's all these like deficit based words. And that to me is very much then centering this, again, scarcity mindset, where we're then showing up in a way that is, accepting crumbs and being, um, feeling like we are almost burdening by asking. Nonprofit, like we are beyond profitable. Nonprofit organizations fill the gaps in society. They connect, you know, in educational institutions, healthcare agencies, humanitarian services like international development. They're supporting all the folks who often fall through the cracks and slip through the cracks. And the work they're doing is so important. Um, they're the ones bringing the impact, bringing the data, making the cases known for investments, innovations, needs in the community. But we're chronically devaluing them, I think, by just calling them nonprofit. They're profitable. They have so much value. So I like to say social profit. I think it was David, I speak about him in my book, David, don't quote me, Grant, fact check, Grant, something like that.
We'll look
I
into it.
think, yeah, look it
Oh,
up. I think he coined the word. But I think words matter. Words have weight to them. And when you're in community and you're talking about, our nonprofit, no, we're social profit. We're providing value. We're providing benefit. So
mm-hmm.
important.
I
I
love that.
100%, yeah, agree. And it kind of ties into the next thing I wanted to talk about was confidence. Like you obviously have a lot of confidence, and that all ties into, that important ask when you're asking someone to, donate.
Yeah.
What does a confident fundraising ask sound like?
Yeah.
Do you have any tips
Well,
for fundraisers?
yeah. So I think it's a confident ask is number one, know who you're asking.
Hmm. Yeah,
This
that's
sounds
important.
again very obvious, but who is asking? So relationship first, it's always relational. Is the best asks are typically from a peer. So again, back to the default that I mentioned earlier of like the CEO by default is the person to ask.
Hmm.
Well,
Mhm.
no, it should be the person with the most, aligned relationship with that individual or a peer. So best ask come from a peer, not the CEO. So
Hmm.
that could look like your campaign council, campaign cabinet, what have you, and the folks that they, engage with in their network. They should ask them.
Mhm.
Um, a good ask is confident. So it's very specific, it's very clear, it's mission focused, it factors in outcomes. So you should be able to speak to the impact directly associated with the ask. And for major gifts, I use a bit of a funny example, but I think it helps it stick for folks. With respect to like major gift fundraising, if you think about it like as if you're going to propose to someone, like like like
I'd be so nervous.
right? Well, but maybe you would be nervous. But would you ask them to marry you if you weren't confident that they would say yes?
Mm.
Of
True.
I
course you're going to be a little
love that.
nervous because it's a thing, right?
Yeah.
But but you should by then have built a really beautiful relationship. It should be authentic, it should be genuine. You should have put in the work. Um, of course, you should have qualified them.
Mhm.
Can they give? So capacity, right? You want to look at their capacity. Do they have the financial means and ability to actually make the gift? Um, there's lots of ways to do that through, measuring their assets, real estate holdings, wealth screening, all that jazz.
Mhm.
Affinity, do they have an emotional connection to the cause? Like, is their heart aligned with the work you're doing? So
Mhm.
that's number two, super important. And then propensity, which is the third kind of key pillar in a big ask, but that really signals, do they have the habit of taking action? Does their past giving history tell a story that they tend to give at this level? So to know those things. So just like a proposal, right? I like to make the joke, but you should be pretty confident that they're going to say yes
Mhm.
if you're going to do it.
I
And
really
then,
love that example. I've
I
never
like
heard that one before. And it's really because I do the same thing, Sarah. I do the same thing where I like tell little stories, like for instance, like for foundations, like when you're giving them impact report, I'm like, think of them like grandparents. You want to
yes,
show that
yes,
that you're using their gifts, that you're enjoying it, that you're how you're
yes.
putting it to use. So I do the same thing, and I've never heard that proposal one, and I might steal it from you, but
You go right
I'll
ahead.
make
You
sure
go
to
nuts.
quote you on it. So
I appreciate you. Thank you. Yeah, it's the same thing. It's centering the relationship, right? And two, you're not just going to ask anyone to marry you. Like
yeah.
you need to have had built a relationship with them. They need to be your person in some capacity. So yeah, I think a good ask at the end of the day, it has all those qualities, but it's not apologetic, right? It's not vague. You don't over explain yourself because sometimes folks get nervous and then they might start rambling a little bit and
Mm-hmm.
then you kind of maybe talk them out of even giving you you but
Exactly, right?
um and so what it looks like cleanly would be something like, would you consider investing $10,000 to provide meals for 50? Like
Yeah.
just keep it clean, keep it tight, keep it exact. And I always like to say clarity's kindness, right? Is Brene Brown. Clear is kind,
Yeah.
unclear is
Yeah.
unkind.
Yes. Yes. Easy.
And one golden rule, which I'm sure you've heard, and I always say it because I learned this very early in my career, was if you want money, ask for advice. If you want advice, ask for money.
Oh,
Yeah,
That's
that's
interesting.
really good. That I love that. That's really good.
yeah.
That's very true too, right?
It's yes.
That's fantastic. So, a lot of nonprofits are doing incredible work, but their messaging sounds like exactly the same a lot of the
Yeah,
time. Not all the time, but a lot of the time.
yeah.
How can they set themselves apart from each other? Like kind of clearing the mud and being like, here I am, other than working with you, of course.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate the plug. Number one, contact Ernest for good. We will help you differentiate your brand. Um,
Exactly. Clear the
but
mud.
that's what it is, right? It's the fact that so many organizations sound identical.
Hmm.
And listen, I'm going to be real right now. I'm always real. What you see is what you get,
Perfect.
unapologetically. The AI, like we're all using AI in different ways, and I think AI has a very important space in
Hmm.
all sectors in all different ways. There's positives, there's negatives. But you guys touched on it earlier, is the like you can feel like when I go on a website, when I go on read a social media caption, you know that the robot is spitting out all of this content.
Mhm.
And with that, it's even further blending everything together. Like everything is starting to sound the same. That's
Hmm.
how I've been feeling lately.
Yeah.
Yep.
So a lot of organizations on a good day sound identical.
Mhm.
Now layering in AI and messaging, depending on how you know how to prompt your robot,
Hmm.
sounds even more identical. So for me, I think in terms of differentiating who you are as an organization, really understand why now, why does what you offer work, why is it different? One thing I do with charities is when I'm doing like, let's say a campaign concept, um, I will do a huge stakeholder engagement strategy as part of concepting, which
Hmm.
means for one client, I'll give you an example. I had 7 stakeholder groups. It went from their board to their staff, leadership, program participants, volunteers, the general public, and so on, funders, partners. Um, and through questioning and really understanding what is it about this organization that resonates with you? What is
Hmm.
the thing that we are known for by you? What makes us stand out? To hear it from the people that matter most, and then to consolidate that and help that inform how you then message and differentiate yourself. Because then
Yeah.
essentially you're doubling down on what I call like your secret sauce,
Hmm.
right? It's the thing that makes you unique. Um, one thing I always encourage charities to do is really understand how other people are positioning themselves in the same sector. Look at like-minded agencies. Look, what are they saying? What copy are they using? What are their taglines? What are their color palettes? What stories are they telling? What type of stories? And do the opposite. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you can, not to say you always can, because we're bound by our brand and our guidelines and all the things, but like as much as possible, differentiate yourself. And it doesn't have to be complicated. You can do it through, your storytelling, shining a light on your leadership, giving that
Yeah.
like the BTS moment right behind the scenes. Um, the ways in which you're innovating, the ways in which you're partnering for solutions. Um, one thing too, I think that stands out big time is I call it in my book collaboration over competition.
Mm-hmm.
So donors want to invest in solutions.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They don't care how it what needs to happen to get to the solution most times. They want a solution. So to differentiate yourself, you can also look at like how can you best collaborate with service providers and partner on impact together. Like that tells a really big story to donors as well to make their investment to come through with an investment. But yeah, I think I look at I use my own branding as an example, and you guys kind of mentioned it earlier. Is like, who am I as a person when I started my consultancy? I'm known to be
Mm-hmm.
very energetic and
Yeah.
very bold and very bright in terms of my self-expression and my, colors and whatnot. So when I developed my brand, Ernest for Good, all of the messaging, all of the palette, all of the colors, there's this like hue of neon under the logo that is meant to evoke
Yeah.
energy. It shows that it's alive. There's energy here.
Mhm.
It's bright, it's bold. So that's the thing is like know what sets you apart. In this case for my consultancy, but in often cases for charities, and then double down on it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if your messaging could belong to another organization, then it's just not distinctive enough.
Yep.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And you mentioned collaborating and how important that is. But can you give me some examples? So nonprofits, they can collaborate with service providers you mentioned, but just some like real examples maybe that you've
Yeah.
how that's kind of changed things for them.
Oh, all the time. So here locally in Hamilton, I'll use an example. We have recently experienced a tragedy in the community where a young person his life was taken. His name was Nabil.
Mm-hmm.
And local grassroots not-for-profit organization, Abrar Trauma Mental Health, one of Ernest for Good charity partners, have been really leading on the response to this and developing a plan to engage youth and with a focus on racialized youth, newcomer, refugee, immigrant youth. To
Mm-hmm.
create, ensure that they're feeling connected to the community as new Canadians, a sense of belonging, so that they feel supported and that they have role models, mentors, and people out there that they can aspire, to and look up to. And so an example here is like, this organization does great work involving youth,
Mm-hmm.
especially newcomer youth. But to provide solutions for young people to have the best foot forward and to realize their potential, we have to tap into the social determinants of health. We have to understand all the ways in which people need to be supported so that they can go along in their journey in a way that's positive. So maybe that's housing, maybe that's getting them an internship or job opportunities. Maybe that's ensuring that, their family is not experiencing food insecurity, and they're not
Mm-hmm.
going to school hungry. So then how do you take, Abrar's leading on the engagement side of things uh, for safety and for healing and belonging, but then how do you partner with those additional agencies that can further provide opportunities for young people in the other ways that are needed? So like oftentimes charities approach something as like, we got this, apply for the money, give it to us, and we'll do all the work. But then
Yeah.
it's like, are you even best suited to do the work? And again, that goes back to this the scarcity mindset of like take what you can get, chasing grants that might not even be aligned. And then you got to question, are you even the right person to do this work? Can you collaborate and partner in community and bring organizations in a way to better serve the people that need the support? So yeah,
Yeah.
there's so many examples of that, but I think donors, funders especially, they like to see that, who else when you're applying for funding, uh, they like to see who are the partners in this work, who are you creating solutions with. It's just
Mhm.
pretty.
Yeah, that's good to know though. That for sure. I think that, one organization trying to do too much, it's going to make their services, less effective
Yeah,
also.
you can water it down, and
Mhm.
you just might not be the right ones to do the work, and that's okay. Like
Yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, now let's talk about branding. I am the marketing manager here, and I know you're marketing. So let's talk
Yeah.
about branding. I personally love this topic, and I think a lot of nonprofits put this on the back burner a lot because they're so busy juggling all the things, let's be honest. And
Yeah.
I'm sure there's nonprofits out there that need to hear this, Sarah. How important is branding in fundraising? And how can they brighten up their brand without a big budget? I know we kind of touched on it, but like what can they do? Or like, yeah, what can they do? How can they help their brand get seen and be more
Yeah.
identifiable?
I love this question. I love it. I have so much to say about it.
Or
So prepare. There's so much here. You can't have, like I said at the beginning, right? I made the BOGO joke about my experience personally, but like for folks, if you could see this, there's philanthropy on this hand, there's branding, marketing, communications on this hand. When they come together like this, that's magic. That's the sweet spot. Your success as an organization has so much to do with how your brand is perceived in the community and how, what taste that it leaves in people's mouths.
mm-hmm,
So branding at the end of the day, we know it creates trust. It signals credibility, recognition, and I'll talk about tips in terms of how to achieve these things, but just confidence, right? A well-established, well put together brand signals confidence. You feel good giving to them. Um, Donor loyalty, right? That's huge. And at the end of the day, people give to people, not causes, but people give to causes they remember.
Mhm.
So that's what the bigger organizations tend to have on their side. Let's call it in Canada, the sick kids,
mm-hmm.
right? The
Yeah.
larger foundations, the big marketing budgets, because their visuals are so compelling, the concepts are they're strong, they're bold, but that often costs money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so low budget tips, I have a whole bunch. I talk about this in my book as well. Um, Number one, cohesion always, consistent visuals, consistent messaging, consistent storytelling, continuity across channels. So,
Mm-hmm.
and that's easy to do, right? That if you can imagine a needle and your story and your brand is the thread, and you are just weaving it through
Yeah.
every single thing that people touch, people see, people experience. Strong website, first impression. A lot of not a lot, but some nonprofits or not-for-profits or social profits don't have website and they're using Instagram or they're using social media as a means. Websites really signal credibility and trust. It means that you're,
Mm-hmm.
perceived as official. A big thing I talk about a lot is that your staff is branding. So when you don't have a budget, go inward and think about, yes, you can dump a bunch of money into SEO and advertising and marketing, but like you are branding, your staff is branding, your attitude is branding. The most bang for the buck comes from the people that are actually in your organization. they're like walking, living, breathing advertisements and billboards.
Mm-hmm.
So how question like, are you using them? Are you
Yeah.
activating them? Same as clients, participants, stakeholders, volunteers. They're like gasoline on your mission. Like it's a mission
Mm-hmm.
accelerator. If you know how to, when I say use, that sounds really like transactional, but like resource them so that they can go out and speak on your behalf. Um, One thing I always, a little story time. So in my previous roles in leadership, I loved interviews. And I talk about this too a little bit in my book. I loved interviews. And sometimes I would be known for like maybe taking on a little too many interviews, you
Mm-hmm.
know, and I want to give everyone a fair shot. And if I'm curious, like I want to sit down with someone. But an interview process is like one of the best marketing tools you can also have. If someone's expressing interest in your organization, they come in and interview with you, it's a lovely experience, right? Maybe they didn't get the job, but you had that opportunity to talk about the work you do, the impact. They already have affinity because they're thinking about working for you. I've had so many folks leave who didn't get the job who are then reconnecting saying, "Wow, can I volunteer?
Mm-hmm.
What's the next thing going on? How can I be a part of this?" Um, and think about they leave with saying, you know what, mom, I might not have got that job, but wow, that I really want to work for that organization or I want to
Yeah.
volunteer. It's just a simple example, but
Yeah.
um, and I make the jokes an iPhone in a dream, right? Shout out to Natalie, my past staff in social media, who she used to always say that we'd laugh. You don't need a big marketing budget for taking your iPhone and capturing, participant stories,
Yeah.
staff at work, a typical day, why we work here. Just letting people in on that kind of gritty, in the moment, real time storytelling through a charity is so impactful versus like, the full photo, film crew,
Yeah.
editing, lighting. Like there's a time and a place for that too, but just use your cell phone. It's
Yeah.
I agree
um
100%. It's like it's a lot to do with storytelling, but telling like those real stories, right? That help build that trust, right? And create that impact for people.
yes, it's the inside scoop. And what was it? I did some research recently. I spoke at actually my former university, and it was on marketing in the charitable sector. And the big piece of it all was how, my message to the students was the days of like overly produced, edited, PR'd executive directors and CEOs, like those days are very dead. Um,
Mm-hmm.
for nowadays, like let's say Walmart, something happens, or a big charity, something happens. Before they would issue a statement on behalf of Walmart, and it was this kind of faceless company. Charities now, like donors, volunteers, supporters, they want to be able to like know the dog's name of the executive director leading the big
Mm-hmm.
charity. Like that's the level of connection they want. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it needs to be appropriate and everyone needs to feel comfortable and whatnot. But like, there's a way to do that, even on how you tell the story of your leadership, how you uh, share your CEO and on the website. Have them holding
Mm-hmm.
their dog and talk about their favorite local restaurants that they enjoy to eat at instead of just all the letters after their name and that they've been in, the sector for that long. Also, this is a big one if you're on a budget. Media is your friend.
Mm-hmm.
Like we love media. We love traditional media. People are scared of media, especially social profits get a little freaked out with media sometimes. Strong media relations, make friends with your local journalists, position yourself as subject matter experts in the space that you occupy and that you're in. They will come to you because you are a reliable, familiar, consistent
Mm-hmm.
source of information. And every time they do, that's
Free,
advertising, marketing.
free advertising.
It's in kind exposure, and we love that.
Yeah.
And people love to read those stories too. I was a
Yes.
journalist before I come from a journalism background. And so interviewing people like the local charities and things and people going through hard times and looking for donations, like I found those stories created the most impact for sure.
Hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. One of my previous workplaces, we landed a front page feature in the local newspaper, and that profiling led to the largest gift the organization had received through a capital campaign that we were doing, and which was the lead donor came through to essentially name the building that we were embarking on building.
Hmm.
And that came through a front page article that was a response to a funding cut, and the fact that women, and families experiencing homelessness are the ones losing here in this situation. And they stepped in after seeing that and came through with $1 million donation.
Hmm.
So
Amazing. That's
we
That's
love
incredible.
amazing.
media.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
really good to
media
hear.
is fantastic. So let's talk about communication. Besides the obvious thank you email, what else should these nonprofits be doing? Should they give updates? How often? I know we kind of touched on it, thinking of like grandparents and stuff, but like, what is your opinion? What is your um idea with communication after the give?
Yes, yes. If you saw this, people tuning in, listening in classic Sarah Ernest style, I just spilled coffee on my keyboard.
Oh
Oh
no.
So now
yeah.
I'm shaking it upside down.
Are you a bit of a klutz, Sarah?
Yep, yep.
Same, same.
I may drop things. Okay. Yeah, sorry about that, guys.
No.
So question on communication and frequency and when to communicate. I think that this too is a something I mentioned earlier where folks tend to only communicate when they need something or when they want something. Um, the goal is storytelling. The goal is not focusing on stats alone, numbers. Like there's a time and a place to communicate things like that, right? Funders are going to ask for it. How many people did you serve last year? Ideally, your impact report, you're speaking to those pieces. Um, but statistics alone, they're not really going to help you. Focusing in on like a person, their journey, the outcome, finding that balance and connecting with people in between the moments, staying connected, like that thread that I talked about earlier, communicating often, communicating consistently. Um, I think is so important. And like, pay attention to people. Like, oh, Joan's son just graduated and she mentioned it. Like, make a note in your calendar. Joan's son's graduation day. Follow up on that day. Joan, it's a big
Mhm.
day for your family. Thinking of you. Congratulations. Like, have I'm a voice note person. Like, when I meet with someone, when I talk with someone, I immediately will download things that they've shared with me in my notes, or I'll take notes or what have you. If it's through a Zoom, then my AI is kind of capturing little nuggets and then I'll plan it in my calendar. Um, but to just pay attention to the things outside of what your mission is, which is
Mhm.
probably asking for money. And yeah, and communicate often. So I would say like good communication strategy throughout the year, depending on your stewardship and recognition matrix. You should have something outlined that articulates, a donor at what level, what is the
Mhm.
experience and donor journey they get. So maybe major donors are getting more of a customized uh, stewardship plan that has custom communications based on the individual thing they're supporting. And maybe that's yearly. They're also getting invitations to your events, your campaigns. They're getting updates from the CEO regularly. Everyone gets your newsletter. My rule of thumb is like communicate consistently. Don't just do it when you need something. And you can't thank people enough. And,
Mhm.
so more communication, please.
Yeah.
That's great advice. That's 100%. I agree. And a lot of nonprofits, they need fundraising help, but they can't
Big
afford
time.
a full-time hire. So what does a fractional fundraising support look like? When does that make sense for somebody or for an organization?
Yeah, fractional fundraising is like game changer. Honestly, I would say it's something that is quite common or has been more common in the US.
Mhm.
Mhm.
It's something that if you do not have the budget to bring in someone with a certain level of expertise, it gives organizations executive level experience without executive level overhead. So more common for like IT, HR, finance, like roles like that, you hear fractional.
Mhm.
But again, going back to like when I developed Ernest for Good and thinking about my business model and where do charities need help the most,
Mhm.
stepping in on that consultancy basis up front to develop the campaign strategies, the plans, the annual campaigns, capital campaigns, what have you. But then once you get that foundational element developed, a lot of times people say, okay, oh my goodness, like, can we keep you? How do we keep working with you? And that's the shift over into fractional fundraising.
Mhm.
Your fractional fundraiser should have done this work for a long time, ideally, or really know what they're doing. Um, if a charity's not ready to hire full time, it's a great option for them. If they need like quick execution strategy support, or if they're growing quickly and they just need someone to really manage that growth and keep that continuity in place until they have the capacity to actually hire someone. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, fractional fundraising, I think, is a game changer, especially for the smaller organizations that are on that growth spurt. I've had some interesting comments made, which I happily address, which is like, well, but how can you be a fractional fund? Like, how can you fundraise for multiple charities? Like, if you're
Mhm.
leading and supporting. And again, I think that goes back to that scarcity brain,
Yeah.
right? Of there's enough money to go around. And a fractional
Mhm.
fundraiser, if there's overlap, let's say in community or donors or sponsors, and you're encouraging and representing multiple causes, you're only shopping to them what's appropriate and aligned to them,
Mhm.
right? So I kind of giggle about that a little bit because confidentiality remains at all times, of
Yeah.
course, in a fractional setting.
Mhm.
And you're only advancing the strategies of each individual charity based on the donor base and the folks that are most aligned that
Yeah.
will work with them. And
Yeah.
and and guess what? People give to multiple causes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's right. It's the scarcity mindset thing, right? It's there's enough to go around. And I think
Yeah.
that's what these fundraisers need to really understand, right? That there's enough
Yeah.
to go around with the right help, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. And
Yes.
also, when you build these connections, like you, for instance, Sarah, like you've got this personality, you've got, all of this charisma, and you build relationships, let's say, with the Smith Foundation, and you say, hey, Smith Foundation, I'm helping this nonprofit raise money for dogs, right? And
Yep.
then a couple months later, you're working with another foundation, and you're like, and they're also working with dogs. And you say, "Hey, Smith Foundation, also working with this," and they're going to say, "Well, if Sarah's working with them, then we already know we're aligned with Sarah, and we're aligned with with what she's doing." So, I think in that sense,
Yeah.
it's very. It can almost be beneficial because,
Yes.
especially when you've got a consultant like yourself who puts themselves out there and puts
Yeah.
their heart on the paper. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And so I actually think that that's really quite cool. So that's just kind of
Yeah.
my 2 cents. And moving from that at Grand Advance, we actually help nonprofits find aligned funders instead of chasing every single maybe opportunity. And I think that connects to what you do. When
Yeah.
organizations are overwhelmed and uninformed, they can start applying everywhere, competing everywhere, and reacting to every opportunity. What makes a charity and a funder a good match?
Ooh, good question. You touched on it a little bit already. Um, the relational aspect. So good matches can mean a lot of things. But again, let's go back to the married example.
Mm-hmm.
shared values, right? Are you aligned in terms of your values? What does this funder value, and what are your values as an organization? How does it show up? Um, what is of course, before you apply to any grant or foundation or any funder, you should understand their giving priorities. What
Mm-hmm.
are their pillars? What's the impact that they're looking to make? What solutions, what problems are they trying to solve? And are you, the charity, suited to solve that problem? Um, that's huge. Shared outcomes. So do you have a similar interest in, what the solution looks like, what the answers to the problem can look like?
Mm-hmm.
The work that you guys do is super valuable in that. You're basically, it's like a mission matchmaker, right?
Yeah.
You're matching mission to folks who can really help advance it. But I think the biggest thing is it's just focused on fit. It's fit. It's not volume. Do your homework, research. Do not just like shotgun out the
Yep.
same ask to 200 funders. Really, it's like applying for a job. Might be
Mm-hmm.
sound very simple, but I always tell folks, younger students or folks I'm mentoring is if you want that job, you study that organization.
Yep.
You completely change your resume, your cover, all the things, and you regurgitate their language back to them through
Yeah.
you. Like you become them in how you talk to them, because then they see themselves in you from the jump, right? And
Mm-hmm.
the same for charities. It's kind of a hack where don't just copy and paste every single thing in a grant application. What are the keywords in that application? What are they asking for? And then shape and plug
Mm-hmm.
and push it back to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The more prepared you are, the better, right? The
I
better
love
chance
that. Yeah.
Yes,
That's absolutely amazing.
for
you don't
sure.
gotta get ready if you stay ready.
I love
That's
that.
all.
I love that.
Got so many cute little mottos and
I
like
know.
there, they're so good. I'm gonna have to like re-listen to this and like take little snippets out.
Yeah, I
Oh
know.
yes.
And Sarah, you've got a podcast as well. And so for our listeners, go check out What's the Tea with Sarah E. That's such a cute name. And if
Thank
you're looking
you.
for guests, our team has a lot of experts who would love to join you on your podcast sometime.
Oh, cool.
And thank you so much for joining us today and for all of your amazing insights, Sarah. It's been awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank
Amazing.
you
Thank
so
you guys
much.
for having me. This has been so great.